Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tesla earnings call breakdown. So I was going to say Big Tech Frenzy, but it's not. We're back to earnings season, and Tesla shows off their earnings a little bit differently, showing 5:30 is the actual call. So we're not late. We are ahead of schedule. We'll actually see the earnings call in about 28 and or so minutes. And I wanted to take a look at the numbers before we get into it. Listen to what Elon has to say. When Elon talks, I like to listen. So very excited. I was going to listen to this regardless, but I thought I would go live with some of you guys to listen along. I bought some Chime today. No Chime, thank you. I think it's an interesting name. We'll see what happens. I like that people are divided on it, I'm glad there isn't a piece of consensus. It means that there's not an echo chamber here and that we can always make our own decisions on different investments. However, that being said, I'm going to try to find as much information on that name for you guys so then we can help make more informed decisions. Going over to Tesla stock, however, let's jump in. I have only taken a brief look at the numbers. They ended up missing on EPS, beating on revenue. I think revenue beat by roughly about $1 billion or so, 5%, and EPS missed by 11%. But I have not gone through the shareholder letter just yet, so let's go ahead and do that. All right. So Q3 2025 update by Tesla. Let's see how things are looking. In Q3, the Tesla team achieved record vehicle deliveries globally, showing strength and growth across all regions, while also achieving record energy storage deployment across residential, industrial, and utility sectors. This strong performance resulted in both record revenue and free cash flow generation in the quarter. We continue to launch new products that excite our customers across automotive and energy. We launched the Model Y Long, or YL, and Model Y Performance, and further expanded our vehicle offerings with the Model 3 and Y Standard, our most affordable vehicles yet. We also unveiled the Megapack 3 and Mega Block, which will further simplify large battery installations by reducing cost and time deployment. We believe our scale and cost structure will enable us to navigate the shifting market dynamics across the globe more efficiently than our peers, with advancements in AI making our products the most compelling in the market. Okay, let's quickly take a look at some of these numbers. Total automotive revenue grew by 6%. Energy generation and storage deployment, remember, this grew by 44%, but the actual numbers in millions, the amount of energy generation and storage is much, much smaller than automotive. Okay, so automotive is what we need to look to see if things are performing well. Okay, now off of a strong comp last year, this number, although being the record highest for Tesla, if I'm not mistaken, is only up 6%. It's not the greatest. Total revenue up 12% year over year. Total gross profit only up 1%, and gross margin actually falling to 18% year over year. A little bit higher, though, over the last few quarters that we've seen, back to 18. Honestly, I'm not going to hold that against them. That's pretty great. And then free cash flow generation. This is what I heard. Yeah, nearly $4 billion, up 46%. Cash and cash equivalents up 24% to $41 billion. That's also a decent sign as well. Now, what I am going to be looking forward to is Q4 in the comments about the regulatory credits and how people are purchasing Tesla cars so far in the month of October. I actually want to see, do they have any things? In October, we launched the Model 3 and Model Y Standard, making our products more accessible to customers in the wake of the expiration of EV tax credits in the United States. Even with the affordable starting price, these models come standard with what makes Tesla so appealing, including active safety features, a 15.4-inch center touchscreen, and heated front row seats and steering wheel. We also launched the Model Y Performance and began offering, okay, is there any other October comments? We began deploying version 14 of FSD supervised in October, bringing a large portion of the Robotaxi FSD models to consumers. plus improved handling of several complex scenarios, such as avoiding road debris, yielding for emergency vehicles, and adding arrival options to indicate where FSD should park. Yeah, I heard that. And you can save your preferences, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Okay, so those are the only comments for October. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump over really quick because I'm pretty sure Fiscal AI has all of the numbers plugged in. So we can actually take a closer look at some of their segment level data as well. Actually, no, they have all the numbers now. This is why I love Fiscal AI. Okay, minutes after a company ends up reporting, we can just bring this to the last few years. We can end up seeing and actually visualizing how these quarters are doing, whether that's revenue growth rate as a percentage, all of these things. You could build these charts immediately. You don't need to be an expert in Excel or anything along these lines. Let's go ahead and take a look at segment KPIs, and we can break out. Actually, no. Well, let's do it like this. Yeah, that's better. Let's break out the revenue. Yeah, look at the storage deployment. Honestly, very good. And we ended up seeing a big boost in June. So it doesn't look like it's a seasonal thing. Well, I mean, it does to some degree. But this is definitely a breakout for Q3 comparatively to other years that we've seen. Hopefully they can continue to grow there. It does look like the best quarter we've seen, for the company. I don't know why it's showing. Yeah, okay, there we go. Let's drag this all the way, probably to here. One more here. Yes. Oh, actually, I'm zoomed in way too much. There we go. Okay, let's also take a look at automotive sales gross profit. I think I want to see that as well. And the leasing, we could stack those just for easy viewing. Yeah, that seems about right. What about as a margin as well? Do they have margins updated? Gross profit margin slightly starting to improve, really bottoming it out in Q4 2024, starting to improve, getting back there. But honestly, it's not quite the same as where it was before. And yeah, let's actually see, because we already have this. From a PE standpoint, this should include this quarter as well. We are now looking at a PE ratio of 257, which actually this is saying 296 right here, but maybe that's not quite accurate. And then I also want to look at forward PE as well, because that should be updated. Why can't I see it? There it is. Hello? Oh, this is forward PE. Okay. Forward PE of 218, and then let's just stack on PE as well. Yeah, it's still very, very expensive versus its competitors. I mean, it's not even remotely close. Okay. I mean, I love Tesla. I do. But I really want to see what their comments are about Q4 without all of this extra stuff. Let's see what the growth in energy generation has been. Yeah, that is stunning. 43%, 66%, 112, 52, 99%. That has been extremely fast. And with their Mega Pack announcement that they did before with the Mega Pack 3 and the Mega Block, I think that'll continue to ramp. That's very exciting. Okay, let's continue to read here. I also wanted to take a look at free cash flow. Let's just see this, because I know it went up to 4 billion roughly, but let's just zoom out a bit. Free cash flow ended up seeing a big spike. What did it look like for capital expenditures? let's just remove. Oh, sorry. Let's remove free cash flow really quick. Yeah, CapEx was not egregious or anything. 2.2 billion. So that looks normal. This is the most recent quarter right here. Okay. Let's turn this off. Yeah. Are you guys super fans of Tesla? What do you think Elon's going to say on the call? You think it's still going to be us waiting for 2 quarters? Because that's really what it's been lately. Is he said, Q4, well, he said Q3, Q4, and Q1 going to be slower than what we think. Do you think he's still going to say, hey, the next 2 quarters are still a little bit slow, but then things are going to start to ramp? That, I think, will be very interesting. Okay, let's go through their presentation really quick. I have to say, the Model Y Long looks so good. It just looks so good. The updated Model Y with the bar across the back, I love it. The Model Y Long really makes it look less bubbly. Much longer base. I think it looks phenomenal. That looks great. Tons of room. The little armrests here that come out of the chair and raise up. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. These are the standard models. You'll be able to tell whenever they're on the road based on the 2 separated lights there instead of one that's going all the way across. I don't know. I don't think it's a good enough price difference that it's going to make too much difference in the sales. Maybe if it was, $10,000 difference, you'd start to see big spikes. But I think it's only like 4,900 if I'm not mistaken. Maybe $5,000 change in the pricing. So yeah, more Tesla locations, mobile fleets starting to rise up again, but not obviously where we were before. But the Tesla locations, the superchargers here as well, always continuing to increase. That's very, very interesting. More connectors, 3,500 more roughly. 18% increase in total supercharger connectors. That's an insane amount. Like if you're talking about driving these cross country and you want them everywhere, to see that they're expanding the amount of chargers by 18% year over year has to be something you're very excited about. That is quite exciting. Over 11,400 more supercharging stations, or well, not stations, but connectors just out and about. That's nuts. The inside of the vehicle is nice, but the outside isn't appealing to me. Yeah, I mean, Tesla tries to be very family friendly. So unless you're picking like a Cybertruck or a Roadster or something, you get this sort of bubbly, more friendly or family friendly appeal. But if you go for one of their faster models of the Model S, for example, the Plaid, it has a sharper look for sure. Did we look at Outlook? Page 10. Here we go. It is difficult to measure the impacts of shifting global trade and fiscal policies on the automotive and energy supply chains. Our cost structure and demand for durable goods and related services. While we are making prudent investments that will set up our vehicle, energy, and other future businesses for growth, the actual result will depend on the variety of factors, including the broader macroeconomic environment, the rate of acceleration in our autonomy efforts, and production ramp of our factories. For cash, we have sufficient liquidity to fund our product roadmap, long-term capital expansion plans, and other expenses. Furthermore, we will manage the business such that we maintain a strong balance sheet during periods of uncertainty. Profit. We will continue to execute on innovations to reduce the cost of manufacturing and operations. Over time, we expect our hardware-related profits to be accompanied by an acceleration of AI, software, and fleet-based profits. I mean, that's the hope. That's what everyone's hoping for. So that's a really good sign there as well. Not like it hasn't been said in every other quarter, but product, we continue to evolve and augment our product lineup with a focus on cost, scale, future monetization opportunities via services powered by our AI software. We remain focused on growing our sales volumes through a differentiated and effective managed product portfolio, which includes leveraging and optimizing our existing production capabilities before building new factories and product lines. Cybercab, Tesla Semi, and Megapack 3 are on schedule for volume production starting in 2026. First generation product lines for Optimus are installed in anticipation of volume production. I mean, that is exciting. 2026, all three of these should be huge. Tesla Semi, Cybercab obviously being the biggest, Megapack 3, something that no one ever thinks about, but energy storage just continues to climb up. It's hard to ignore. It's definitely hard to ignore. FSD miles on version 11 and before, FSD miles on V12 and beyond. Yeah, I mean, the ramp there is definitely interesting. Holy crap. The call should be starting at 5:30. That's in the next little bit. We'll make sure that we have the call ready. 12 minutes, 39 seconds. Okay. Yeah, we added over 3,500 new supercharging stalls in Q3, growing the network 18% year over year. In September, we launched our first V4 supercharger cabinets with 3x the power density and 2x the number of stalls per cabinet compared to V3, resulting in the higher throughput, higher efficiency, lower cost, and faster deployments. V4 chargers enable 500 kilowatt charging for passenger vehicles and 1,200 kilowatt charging for the Tesla Semi, enabling the fastest charging time for trucks in the United States. I mean, it's not like we didn't know that. We're not figuring this out in the presentation. We knew that whenever the V4 was actually announced, but still, it's hard not to look at that and be pretty excited. I mean, these charts are very exciting. And the thing about this is some people are waiting for more superchargers before they buy. They want to buy, but they want to make sure that, supercharger stations are actually around in their local area. So these types of things can actually ramp the amount of new potential purchase orders that end up happening in the future. So it's hard to sort of gauge, but it very much is a forward-looking investment. Also, the potential product and revenue lines of, other EVs that end up going to Tesla superchargers if they have them all around the world. Imagine what an automotive company looks like whenever they have an automotive business, but they also own the gas stations and they also own essentially the driver for self-driving. And they also own, ancillary products like robots and, semi-trucks and all of these things for other completely different revenue segments. Like robots is going to be by far the biggest category that they're in. And then Tesla Semi, especially with full self-driving for commercial use, could be huge. I don't not see any of that. I mean, I'm fully aware of all of it. It's just quite the price to pay for that future. But Elon has deserved, quite the premium for his execution. Robotaxi probably needs AI 5 to scale. That's not going to happen until 2027, says Michael Porter. Michael, well, I mean, if he thinks that it can be done on hardware 4, then who am I to judge? There's a lot of competitive car releases between now and then, not much in Tesla's EV pipeline to protect the business. I was definitely, and I think most people, other than people that were a little too, some people are just, Elon can do no wrong, anything like this. I think a lot of people were expecting a very competitive Model 2 vehicle that was going to compete with the Hondas and the Toyotas and all of these things. And what we ended up getting was a Model Y standard. And I don't think that that's competitive. It's still way more expensive and cuts out a large percentage of the population. I don't think $5,000 is what stopped people from buying their dream car. I mean, maybe it did, but I don't think that's a lot of people. It's the tech that keeps you, FSD and the safety. Well, yeah, that's definitely the big selling points for sure. Supercharger is like the consistent revenue stream. It's like owning all the petrol stations of the future. Yeah, definitely. However, it's not very comparable to the auto sales. It definitely is a very small percentage, but it is consistent, and it's only going to get more consistent as they scale and then offer it to other EVs, which they already do to some degree. But that is going to get more. That's going to broaden out for sure. Okay. Let's see the difference here on. Can we get the different? Yes, we can. Model. Let's go to deliveries. Model 3 and Model Y versus the other vehicles, and we'll stack them really quick. I think another thing, and I'm not trying to hate on Tesla right now, it must suck for the blue line here, which is their really high value vehicles, the Model X, the Model S, the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck, I think people thought that was really going to boom this lower bottom thing. And in 2024, you ended up seeing a lot of sales and then seeing some problems now. I honestly think the Cybertruck is going to be a dead vehicle. I don't think anyone is going to purchase it. And not because I don't think that it's a good vehicle. I just think that it's been tied to political things and that people just won't buy it because people cannot forget, the sort of riots and stuff like this and the swastikas and everything that was drawn into people's cars. I don't know if it's the car that people are going to spend a ton on. Maybe I'm wrong, but I honestly think that they should scrap it, come up with a different design, and then come out with a truck that is still Tesla branded, but not, having the same Cybertruck-esque design. I do think that it's, good to be in the truck market and that Tesla has what it takes to be, one of the best truck companies out there. Okay, let's quickly. Let's not forget, we have the earnings call in 6 minutes. This should be really exciting. Cybertruck is quite ugly, and I love the Tesla car. Yeah, I can understand this opinion. It's definitely, you either love it or you hate it. I know a lot of people that saw that and said, hey, that's badass. Like, gotta love the way that looks. See, these comments, though, like, honestly, it's not bulletproof, just 9mm rounds. Okay, but that's doing a lot better than most vehicles. It's like to try to talk down that it is one of the strongest vehicles. Like, it definitely is the case. Okay, I'm aware that the demo they had, potentially, what did they say? That they somehow messed with the window before they actually threw the glass or the steel ball at it. But still, I mean, you throw it at any other car, that steel ball is going right through. The fact that it even, I don't think that that's comparable. That's all I'm trying to say. I love it because it's ugly. Brian says, thank God you're live. Well, thanks for being here, brother. I didn't know my presence was this needed. Breaking news, Trump scheduled to meet with Xi. Well, I think we all kind of knew that this was coming, but yeah, I think that is positive news. The market doesn't seem to care too much. Still kind of flat, but that's all right. Tesla stock, however, let's take a quick look at Tesla stock. Last time I checked, it was quite flat, down 1.5% now um, going into this earnings starting in 4 minutes. But um, oh, okay. The call has not started, but we are officially staring at two Model Y standards. But Tesla stock, although being down 0.8% on the day, the market actually hit extreme fear. Tesla stock is down 1.57% on the day. Not terrible. We're still $432 per share. It's quite good for Tesla. Now we're live. I can't listen to the music just yet because it's just music playing. But once I hear the speaker's voice, we'll switch over. Okay, let's see what else we can find from the great and powerful Fiscal AI here. Anything that's changing, it really doesn't look. Every single metric quarter over quarter looks much higher than it did. Obviously, the price has accelerated quite a lot. Stock price going into this quarter, $444. Last quarter, 317. So, but we also get closer to Optimus, and then we get to see more and more models of the Optimus that look much better than before. So you don't have to have that sort of time decay or wait for those next products. If you're buying now, you're obviously much closer to the future than you were if you bought a year ago. Where was Tesla's stock last year? I don't even remember. It's been unbelievably fluctuating. I don't even remember where we were last year at this time. Last year in October, roughly about 270. Actually, sorry, 217 last year. So now at 431, stock down 1.7% in the after hours is still quite the blessing. It's been a good year for Tesla stock, and Tesla shareholders should celebrate. Okay, the call is starting in the next minute or so, minute and a half. Just going through the report one last time, reading anything in Shanghai. We achieved record deliveries in South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, and Singapore, and began deliveries of the Model Y in India. South Korea is now our third largest market behind only the US and China, serving as validation of our competitive positioning in the robust EV market. We launched FSD Supervised in Australia and New Zealand and continued to prepare for a broader launch in China, pending regulatory approval. Gotta love it. For the US, California, Nevada, and Texas, they are getting ready for EV tax credits to be ending. They already are ending. So they launched the Model Y and Model S or Model 3 standard. I'll have to see what they have to say about this vehicle. I'm sure they're going to be very pumped up on the call, but I'm not so sure. Maybe I'm crazy. I just don't think the price is enough. I think people were literally expecting a very cheap car. That's what it sounded like. Tanner, please tell me SoFi will cross $32 next week. I can't tell you that. I don't know if that is true or not. I have my hopes, but that's different from telling you what the market of, trillions of dollars is going to do and where they're going to rotate their money after earnings. Last quarter's conference call was depressing. This time should be better. It's definitely not depressing like it was last quarter. Last quarter was bad. This quarter, I just don't know what percentage of the sales that we ended up seeing was a pull forward of the EV tax credits. So if they can give us some indication of how the sales are going after those EV tax credits, chef's kiss. Okay, that's what we would need. I'd love to hear that. Okay, it's 5:30. I've got the call up. It is not started just yet. I'm still just listening to music. Once it switches over, I'll switch over this and we will begin listening. But right now, it's just the usual EDM that the Tesla team likes to play. Okay. Um, don't get him flagged again. Yeah, seriously, I can't give you guys returns. Come on now. Um, yeah, Elon did sound very tired last time. I think he had quite a few meetings that he was going back to back on, which is not unusual for Elon, but we'll see how he is today. Usually, depending on if they're working on something very exciting, it will drive his excitement. The one thing I can expect is for him to say some insane either price targets, delivery targets, stuff like this. We usually see that across the board for Tesla. We'll see what Elon has to say. I am listening to the call. There's no speaker that has come on just yet. Still music. Okay. So they are a touch late. Okay. Do people who can afford a Tesla care about 7K? Yeah, but that's the thing. They want to expand it into different audiences. Okay. And plus, like, it's not like it's a super expensive vehicle. We're talking about a 30 or the difference of a $40,000 or $35,000 car. You know, $7,000 on a $35,000 car is a big difference. It appears Tesla runs on Tanner time. How could you possibly, Saul? I was on time. They're on Tanner time. This is ridiculous. Hold your prediction markets. Tanner's not spilt his coffee. All right, let's not get ridiculous. But no, and they are definitely late. Like, should I hit refresh? I mean, come on now. What's going on? I mean, it's YouTube, so I don't think they're going to have any problems here. Yeah, not started yet. Okay. Do you guys think that what Elon has to say this call is going to potentially move the stock positively, or do you think it could potentially sink the stock? I think last time it sunk the stock. After the call ended, I think the stock was down over 5%. Right now, we're down 1.7%. Still a McDonald's coffee. I just ripped the label off for some reason. Maybe a trait of autism. I don't know. Maybe a splash. Yeah, there's definitely going to be talk about Elon's part 4 of the master plan. That's going to be the case. Stock's going to go up. It was down last quarter. We'll see. We will see. I think Elon pumps it. He definitely will talk it up. I mean, that's for sure. That happens every quarter. It's just people didn't really believe him last time. I think they thought that he was tired. I think people felt uninspired. But if there's someone to inspire a crowd, I think he might literally be one of the best in the world. What time does it start? It's expected to start at 5:30. It's not started. I mean, maybe his plane hasn't landed yet. Like, who knows? But it'll start eventually. I don't know if I've had an earnings call that's been this late. 4 minutes late on an earnings call. Yeah. Anthony Noda just tweeted out that crypto is coming back to SoFi and that you have to open up an account or you have to join the wait list before November 30th to win a chance at a giveaway of a Bitcoin. Sorry, new tweet. Let's see what the Tesla community has to say online. If it's late for all of us. Oh, I guess I missed in there that they are also confirming that they're building an advanced AI chip in the United States with Samsung. Oh, actually, we knew that. Call just started. Let's get into it. Call started. Here.
Vaibhav Taneja, and a number of other executives. Our Q3 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time in the update deck we published at the same link as this webcast. During this call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These comments are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events or results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC. We urge shareholders to read our definitive proxy statement, which contains important information about the matters to be voted on at the 2025 annual meeting. During the question and answer portion of today's call, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Please use the raise hand button to join the question queue. Before we jump into Q&A, Elon has some opening remarks. Elon?
Thank you. We're at a critical inflection point for Tesla and our strategy going forward as we bring AI into the real world. I think it's important to emphasize that Tesla really is the leader in real world AI. No one can do what we can do with real world AI. I have pretty good insight into AI in general. I think that Tesla has the highest intelligence density of any AI out there in the car, and that is only going to get better. And we're really just at the beginning of scaling at a quite massively full self-driving and robotaxi, and fundamentally changing the nature of transport. I think people just don't quite appreciate the degree to which this will take off. Where it's honestly it's going to be like a shockwave. So it's because the cars are all out there. We have millions of cars out there that, with a software update, become full self-driving cars, and we're making a couple million a year. And in fact, with the advent of with what we see now as a clarity on achieving full self-driving, unsupervised full self-driving, I should say, I feel confident in expanding Tesla's production. So that is our intent, to expand as quickly as we can our future production. So I was reticent to do that until we had clarity on achieving unsupervised full self-driving. But at this point, I feel like we've got clarity, and it makes sense to expand production as fast as we reasonably can. We're also making huge impact on the energy sector with battery storage. So with both the Powerwall and especially with the Megapack, we are dramatically improving the ability to generate more energy from the grid. So let me sort of talk a little bit about that, which is, if you look at total U.S. energy capability, for example, there's roughly a terawatt of continuous power available in the U.S., but the average usage over a 24-hour cycle is only half a terawatt because of the big difference between day and night usage. If you buffer the energy with batteries, you can effectively double the energy output of the United States just with batteries, building no incremental power plants. And it's very difficult to build power plants. So they take a long time. There's a lot of permitting, and it's not an industry that's used to moving fast. So we see the potential there for Tesla battery packs to greatly improve the energy output per year for any given grid, US or otherwise. We're also on the cusp of something really tremendous with Optimus, which I think is likely to be, or has potential to be, the biggest product of all time. And it's a difficult project, and it's worth noting that it's not like it's just automatic. I'm unaware of any robot program by Ford or GM or any of our US sort of car companies. People I think maybe think of Tesla as as a car company, we mostly make cars and battery packs. So it's not like it's not just like an obvious fall off a log thing to make Optimus, but we do have the ingredients of real world AI and exceptional electrical and mechanical engineering capabilities and the ability to scale production, which I don't think anyone else has all of those ingredients. Yeah, with version 14 of the of self-driving, which you can see the reactions of people online. They're quite amazed. Actually, anyone in the US can get version 14 if they just go and select, I want the advanced software in their car. So if you're listening right now and you'd like to try it out, just go in settings and say, I want the advanced software, and you will get version 14. Yeah, so on the Megapack front, we unveiled Megablock, Megapack 3. We also have exciting plans for Megapack 4. Megapack 4 will incorporate a lot of what is normally in a substation and be able to output at probably 35 kilovolts directly. So this greatly improves our ability to deploy Megapack because it's not dependent on building a substation up through 35 kV for Megapack 4. So that'll be that's the engineering priority for Megapack. We look forward to unveiling Optimus V3. Probably in Q1. I think it'll be ready for to show off, and that I think is going to be quite remarkable. It won't even seem like a robot. It'll seem like a person in a robot suit, which is kind of how we started off with Optimus. But it'll seem so real that you'll need to like poke it, I think, to believe that it's actually a robot. And obviously, like the real world intelligence we've developed for the car, most of that transfers to Optimus. So it's a very good starting point. In conclusion, we're excited about the updated mission of Tesla, which is sustainable abundance. So going beyond sustainable energy to say sustainable abundance is the mission, where we believe with Optimus and self-driving that you can actually create a world where there is no poverty, where everyone has access to the finest medical care. Optimus will be an incredible surgeon, for example. And imagine if everyone had access to an incredible surgeon. So I think there's, of course, we need to make sure Optimus is safe and everything, but I do think we're headed for a world of sustainable abundance, and I'm excited to work with the Tesla team to make that happen.
Great. Thank you very much, Elon. Vaibhav also has some opening remarks.
Thanks, Travis. Q3 was a special quarter at multiple levels. We set new records not just for deliveries and deployments, but also around a range of financial metrics from total revenues, energy gross profit, energy margins to free cash flow. This was the result of continued confidence of our customers in our products and the relentless efforts by the Tesla team. The strength in deliveries was attributed to strong performance across all regions. Greater China and APAC were up sequentially 33% and 29% respectively. North America was up 28%, while EMEA was up 25%. The pace in deliveries was the function of continued excitement around the new Model Y. We had previously talked about 2025 being the year of the Y and have since delivered on that promise with the new Model Y released in Q1, followed by Model Y long wheelbase and performance, and more recently, Standard Y in North America and EMEA. We're now operating a robotaxi in 2 markets, Austin and most Bay Area cities. We've already expanded our coverage area in Austin 3 times since the initial launch and are on pace to continue expanding further. Unlike our competitors, our robotaxi fleet blends in the markets we operate in since they don't have extra sensor sets or peripherals which make them stick out. This is an underappreciated aspect of our current vehicle offerings, which are all designed for autonomous driving. We feel that as people experience the supervised FSD at scale, the demand for our vehicles, like Elon said, would increase significantly. On the FSD adoption front, we've continued to see decent progress. However, note that total paid FSD customer base is still small, around 12% of our current fleet. We're working with regulators in places like China and EMEA to obtain approvals so that we can get FSD in those regions as well. Now, covering a little bit on the financial side, automotive revenues increased 29% sequentially, in line with the growth in deliveries. While regulatory credits declined sequentially, we entered into new contracts and continued delivery on previously entered contracts. Our automotive margins, excluding credits, increased marginally from 15% to 15.4%, which was attributed to improvements in material cost and better fixed cost absorption due to higher volumes. The energy storage business continued to deliver with record deployments, gross profit, and margins. As discussed before, this business has a bigger impact from tariffs as measured by percentage of COGS, since currently all cells procured are from China, while we're still working on other alternatives. However, as the ramp of Mega Factory Shanghai is happening, this is helping us avoid tariffs because we are using this factory to supply the non-US demand. Like Elon said, grid scale storage, the only way we can get to electricity fastest is by using storage. The other thing to keep in mind is we are seeing headwinds in this business given the increase in competition and tariffs. The total tariff impacts for Q3 for both businesses was in excess of $400 million, generally split evenly between them. Services and other demonstrated a marked improvement sequentially. This was a function of improvements primarily in our insurance and service center businesses. Note that while small, our robotaxi costs are included within services and other, along with our other businesses like paid supercharging, used car, parts and merchandise sales, etc. Our operating expenses increased sequentially. The largest increase included in restructuring and other related to certain actions undertaken to reduce cost and improve efficiency through convergence of our AI chip design efforts. Additionally, we incurred legal expenses related to proceedings in certain legal cases, as well as incremental costs incurred in preparation for our shareholder meeting. Such costs are recorded within SG&A. Further, our employee-related spend is increasing, especially in R&D, as we have recently granted various performance-based equity awards to employees working on AI initiatives, and therefore such spend will continue to increase going forward. On other income, our other income decreased sequentially, primarily from mark-to-market adjustments on BTC holdings, which was a much smaller gain of $80 million in Q3 versus $284 million in Q2, with the rest of the movement attributable to FX movements in the quarter. Our free cash flow for the quarter was approximately $4 billion, which was yet another record. Our total cash and investments at the end of the quarter were over $41 billion. On the CapEx front, while we are expecting to be around $9 billion for the current year, we're projecting the numbers to increase substantially in 2026 as we prepare the company for the next phase of growth in terms of not just our existing businesses, but our bets around AI initiatives, including Optimus. In conclusion, note that bringing AI into real world is hard. but we have never shied away from doing what is hard. We are extremely excited about the future and are laying down the foundation, the benefits of which will be realized over years to come. I would like to end by thanking the Tesla team, our customers, our investors, and supporters for the continued belief in us.
Thank you very much, Vaibhav. Now let's go to investor questions. From say.com, the first question is, what are the latest robotaxi metrics, fleet size, cumulative miles, rides completed, intervention rates, and when will safety drivers be removed? What are the obstacles still preventing unsupervised FSD from being deployed to customer vehicles?
I'll start off with that, and then Ashok can elaborate. But we are expecting to have no safety drivers in at least large parts of Austin by the end of this year. So within a few months, we expect to have no safety drivers at all, at least in parts of Austin. We're obviously being very cautious about the deployment. So our goal is to be actually paranoid about deployment, because obviously even one accident will be front page headline news worldwide. So it's better for us to take a cautious approach here. But we do expect to have no safety drivers in the car in Austin within a few months. I think that's perhaps the most important data point. And then we do expect to be operating robotaxi in I think about 8 to 10 metro areas by the end of the year. It depends on various regulatory approvals. But you can actually, I think most of our regulatory applications are online. You can kind of see them because they're public information. But we expect to be operating in Nevada and Florida and Arizona by the end of the year. Ashok?
Yeah, we continue to operate our fleet in Austin without anyone in the driver's seat. And we have covered more than 250,000 miles with that. And then in the Bay Area, where we still have a person in the driver's seat, because of the regulations, we crossed more than 1 million miles. And we continue to see that the fleet, robotaxi fleet, works really well. Customers are really happy, and there's no notable issues. On the customer side, customers have used FSD Supervised for a total of 6 billion miles as of yesterday. So that's like a big milestone. And overall, the safety continues to be very good. And as Elon mentioned, we are on track to remove the person from inside the car altogether, starting with Austin.
Great. The next question is, what is the demand and backlog for Megapack, Powerwall, solar, or energy storage systems? With the current AI boom, is Tesla planning to supply power to other hyperscalers?
Thanks. Demand for Megapack and Powerwall continues to be really strong into next year. We received very strong positive customer feedback on our Megablock product, which will begin shipping next year out of Houston. And we're seeing remarkable growth in the demand for AI and data center applications as hyperscalers and utilities have seen the versatility of the Megapack product to increase reliability and relieve grid constraints, as Elon was talking about. We've also seen a surge in residential solar demand in the US due to policy changes, which we expect to continue into the first half of 2026 as we introduced a new solar lease product. And we also began production of our Tesla residential solar panel in our Buffalo factory, and we will be shipping that to customers starting Q1. The panel has industry-leading aesthetics and shade performance and demonstrates our continued commitment to US manufacturing.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Unfortunately, the next question is related to future products. This is not the appropriate venue to cover that, so we're going to have to skip it. The question after that is, what are the present challenges in bringing Optimus to market, considering app control software, engineering hardware, training general mobility models, training task-specific models, training voice models, implementing manufacturing, and establishing supply chains?
Yeah, I mean, bringing Optimus to market is an incredibly difficult task. To be clear, it's not like some walk in the park. at some point. I mean, at this actually, technically, Optimus can walk in the park right now. We do have Optimus robots that walk around our offices at our engineering headquarters in Palo Alto, California, basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So any visitors that come by, you actually you can stop one of the Optimus robots and ask it to take you somewhere, and it'll literally take you to that meeting room or that location in the building. So I don't want to downplay the difficulty of Optimus. It's an incredibly difficult thing, especially it's difficult to create a hand that is as dexterous and capable as the human hand, which is the human hand is an incredible thing. That the more you study the human hand, the more incredible you realize the human hand is, and why you need 4 fingers and a thumb, why the fingers have certain degrees of freedom, why the various muscles are of different strengths, the fingers are of different lengths, and it turns out actually that those are all there for a reason, and so making the hand and forearm, because most of the actuator, just like the human hand, the muscles that control your hand are actually primarily in your forearm. The Optimus hand and forearm is an incredibly difficult engineering challenge. I'd say it's more difficult than the rest from an electromechanical standpoint. The forearm and hand is more difficult than the entire rest of the robot. But really, in order to have a useful generalized robot, you do need an incredible hand, and then you need the real world AI, and you need to be able to scale up that production to have it be relevant, because it's not relevant if it's just a few hundred robots. But so you need to be able to make Optimus robots at volumes comparable to vehicles, if not significantly higher. So if you're trying to make 1 million or something per year, trying to make 1 million Optimus robots per year, that manufacturing challenge is immense, considering that the supply chain doesn't exist. So with cars, you've got an existing supply chain. With computers, you've got an existing supply chain. With a humanoid robot, there is no supply chain. So in order to manufacture that, Tesla actually has to be very vertically integrated and manufacture very deep into the supply chain, manufacture the parts internally, because there just is no supply chain. So this is the kind of thing where I'm like, if I put myself in the position of a startup trying to make a humanoid robot, I'm like, I don't know how to do it without an immense amount of manufacturing technology. So that's why I think like Tesla's in almost a unique, I think unique position when you consider manufacturing technology scaling, real world AI, and a truly dexterous hand. Those are generally the things that are missing when you read about other robots, that they just don't have those 3 things. So I think we can achieve all those things, those 3 things, with an immense amount of work, and that is the game plan. So my fundamental concern with regard to how much voting control I have at Tesla is, if I go ahead and build this enormous robot army, can I just be ousted at some point in the future? That's my biggest concern. That is really the only thing I'm trying to address with this. So it's called compensation, but it's not like I'm going to go spend the money. It's just, if we build this robot army, do I have at least a strong influence over that robot army? Not control, but a strong influence. That's what it comes down to in a nutshell. Like, I don't feel comfortable building that robot army if I don't have at least a strong influence.
Great, thank you. We've already covered robotaxi expansion. Unfortunately, the question after that is another future product question, so we're going to have to skip that. The next one, though, is, can you update us on the $16.5 billion Samsung chip deal in Taylor? Given the importance of semiconductors to autonomy in Tesla's AI-driven future, what gives you confidence Samsung can fulfill AI6 at Tesla's timelines and achieve relatively better yields and cost versus TSMC?
Okay, so I'm gonna give quite a long answer to this question because I have to unpack this question and then answer the unpacked version. So first of all, I have nothing but great things to say about Samsung. They're an amazing company, and Samsung, it is worth noting, does manufacture our AI4 computer and does a great job doing that. So now with the AI5, and here's I need to make a point of clarification relative to some comments I've made publicly before, which is we're actually going to focus both TSMC and Samsung initially on AI5. So the AI5 chip design by Tesla is, I think it's an amazing design. I have spent almost every weekend for the last few months with the chip design team working on AI5. And I don't hand out praise easily, but I have to say that I think the Tesla chip team is really designing an incredible chip here. This is, by some metrics, the AI5 chip will be 40 times better than the AI4 chip. Not 40%, 40 times. Because we have a detailed understanding of the entire software and hardware stack. So we're designing the hardware to address all of the pain points in software. So I don't think there really isn't anyone that's doing this, the entire stack, all the way through real world, calibrating against the real world where you've got cars and robots in real world. That, like, we know what the chip needs to do, and we know what, just as importantly, we know what the chip doesn't need to do. To sort of give you some examples here, with the AI5, we deleted the legacy GPU or the traditional GPU, which is it's in AI4, but AI5 does not have. We just deleted the legacy GPU because it basically is a GPU. So we also deleted the image signal processor, and there's like a long list of deletions that are very important. As a result of these deletions, we can actually fit AI5 in a half reticle, and with good margin for the traces from the memory to the Tesla trip accelerators, the ARM CPU cores, and the PCI X the PCI blocks. So this is a beautiful chip. I've poured so much life energy into this chip personally, and I'm confident this is going to be a winner next level. So it makes sense to have both Samsung and TSMC focus on AI5. And so even like technically the Samsung fab has slightly more advanced equipment than the TSMC fab. These will both be made in the U.S. In one TSMC in Arizona, Samsung in Texas, but it's we're going to make, starting off, just to be confident of having our goal, explicit goal, is to have an oversupply of AI5 chips. Because if we have too many AI5 chips for the cars and robots, we can always put them in the data center. So we already use AI4 for training in our data center. So we use a combination of AI4 and NVIDIA hardware. So we're not about to replace NVIDIA, to be clear, but we do use both in combination. AI4 and NVIDIA hardware. And the AI5 excess production we can always put in our data centers. NVIDIA keeps improving. The challenge that they have is that they've got to satisfy a large range, a lot of requirements from a lot of customers. But Tesla only has to satisfy requirements from one customer. That's Tesla. That makes the design job radically easier and means we can delete a lot of complexity from the chip. I can't emphasize how important this is. So like when you look at the various logic blocks in the chip, as you increase the number of logic blocks, you also increase the interconnections between the logic blocks. So you can think of it like just highways. Like how many highways do you need to connect the various parts of the chip? And especially if you're not sure how much data is going to go between each logic block on the chip, then you kind of end up having giant highways going all over the place. It becomes an almost impossibly difficult design problem, and NVIDIA's done an amazing job of dealing with almost an impossibly difficult set of requirements. But in our case, we're going for radical simplicity, and the net effect is that I think AI5 will be the best performance per watt, maybe by a factor of 2 or 3, and the best performance per dollar for AI, maybe by a factor of 10. So, that's, we'll have to, the proof's in the pudding. So obviously we need to actually get this chip made and made at scale. But that's what it looks like.
Great. Thank you, Elon. We've already covered unsupervised FSD. So the next question is, instead of trying to replace hardware 3 with hardware 4, why not give an equal incentive to trade in for a new vehicle?
Yeah, we've not completely given up on hardware 3. However, over the last year, we've offered the customers the option to transfer FSD to their new vehicle, which at times we've been running some promotions. If they got FSD, they can get better preferential rates. So we've been definitely taking care of this, but we do want to solve autonomy first, and then we'll come back with a way to take care of these customers. These customers are very important. They were the early adapters. For what it's worth, my daily commuter is a hardware 3 car, which I use FSD on a daily basis. So we will definitely take care of you guys.
Great. Thank you.
In addition, once the V14 release series is fully done, we are planning on working on a V14 Lite version for hardware 3, probably expected in Q2 next year.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashok. Alrighty. Our final question from Say is, how long until we see self-driving Tesla semi-trucks? And could you see this technology replacing trains?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with that in terms of the semi production plan and schedule. So the factory is going on schedule. We've completed the building and are installing the equipment now. We've got our fleet of validation trucks driving on the road. We'll have larger builds towards the end of this year, and then our first online builds in the first part of next year, ramping into the Q2 timing with real volume coming in the back half of the year. So that's going quite well, and that's the first step to obviously getting autonomous trucks on the road. In terms of trains, they're really great for long point-to-point deliveries. They're super efficient, but that last mile, the load unload, can be better served for shorter distances with autonomous semis, and that would be great. And so we do expect that to probably shift as we, really, as Elon said, change the way transportation is considered. And so we're looking forward to that timeline. And Ashok, I know you can take the full self-driving part.
Currently, the team is super focused on solving for passenger vehicle autonomy. That said, the same technology will extend quite easily to the semi-truck once we have a little bit of data from the semi-trucks.
Great. And now we will move over to analyst questions. The first question comes from Emmanuel at Wolf. Emmanuel, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great. Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. So, Elon, you talked about expanding production of vehicles as fast as possible now that you have confidence in the unsupervised autonomy. How should we think about that in the context of your existing capacity of 3 million units? Is that where you're hoping to get volume to? What sort of timeline are we talking about? And would this require, some level of boosting or incentivizing demand? Like, would this basically be prioritizing volume over near-term profitability, given the longer-term opportunity?
Well, our capacity isn't quite 3 million, but it will be 3 million at some point. Aspirationally, it could be 3 million within. We could probably hit an annualized rate of 3 million within 24 months, I think, maybe less than 24 months. Bearing in mind, there's an entire supply chain, like a vast supply chain that's got to also move in tandem with that. But we're gonna expand production as fast as we can, and as fast as our suppliers can sort of keep up with it. And then we're going to think about where do we build incremental factories beyond that. Like the single biggest expansion in production will be the Cybercab, which starts production in Q2 next year. That's really a vehicle that's optimized for full autonomy. It, in fact, does not have a steering wheel or pedals, and is really an engineering optimization on minimizing cost per mile, for like fully considered cost per mile of operation. So that's, for our other vehicles, they still have a little bit of the horseless carriage thing going on, where obviously if you've got steering wheels and pedals and you're designing a car that people might want to go, do fast acceleration and tight cornering, like high performance cars, then you're going to design a different car than one that is optimized for a comfortable ride, but doesn't expect to go past sort of 85 or 90 miles an hour, and it's just aiming for a gentle ride the whole time. That's what Cybercab is. Yeah, so it's. Do I think we'll sacrifice margins? I don't think so. I think the demand will be pretty nutty. Like here's the killer app. Really, what it comes down to is, can you text it? Can you text while you're in the car? And if you tell someone, yes, the car is now so good, you can be on your phone and text the entire time while you're in the car. It's anyone who can buy the car will buy the car. And a story. That's what everybody wants to do. In fact, not everyone wants to. They do that, and that's why, in fact, the reason you've seen like there's been an uptick in accidents, pretty much worldwide, is because people are texting and driving. Autopilot actually dramatically improves the safety here, because if somebody's looking down at their phone, they're not driving very well. So that's really the game changer, and we do see, like, at this point I feel essentially 100% confident. I say not essentially, 100% confident that we can solve unsupervised full self-driving at a safety level much greater than human. So we've released 14.1. We've got a technology roadmap that's, I think, pretty amazing. We'll be adding reasoning to the car. Our world simulator for reinforcement learning is pretty incredible. When you see it, the Tesla reality simulator, you can't tell the difference between the video that's generated by the Tesla reality simulator and the actual video. It looks exactly the same. So that allows us to have a very powerful reinforcement learning loop to further improve the Tesla AI. We're going to be increasing the parameter count by an order of magnitude. That's not in 14.1. There are also a number of other improvements to the AI, just that are quite radical. So it's this car will feel like it is a living creature. That's how good the AI will get with the AI4 computer. This is before AI5. And then AI5, like I said, is by some metrics 40 times better. Let's just say safely, it's a 10x improvement. So it might almost be too much intelligence for a car. I do wonder, like, how much intelligence should you have in a car? It might get bored. Actually, and then one of the things I thought, like, well, if we got all these cars that maybe are bored, well, while they're sort of, if they are bored, we could actually have a giant distributed inference fleet and say, like, well, if they're not actively driving, let's just have a giant distributed inference fleet. At some point, if you've got like tens of millions of cars in the fleet, or maybe at some point 100 million cars in the fleet, and let's say they had at that point, like, I don't know, a kilowatt of inference capability of, high performance inference capability. That's 100 gigawatts of inference distributed with power and cooling taken with cooling and power conversion taken care of. So that seems like a pretty significant asset.
Great. Thanks, Elon. The next question comes from Adam from Morgan Stanley. Adam, please feel free to unmute yourself. Adam, go ahead and ask your question. Seems like we might be having some audio issues with Adam, so we'll come back to you. The next question will then come from Dan from Barclays.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking the question. Elon, I know that Tesla is really focused on with Master Plan 4 bringing AI into the physical world. And I think we've seen over the past, this willingness for Tesla to engage and go into new markets, new TAMs. So when you think about the growth prospects, how do we define the areas that are really within Tesla's core competency versus where do you draw the line for markets or AI applications that are outside of Tesla's core competency?
Actually, I'm not sure what you mean by AI applications outside of Tesla's core competency. But we didn't have any of these core competencies when we started, So it's like we had zero core competencies, total competency of zero, actually. So you can think of Tesla as, like, I don't know, a dozen startups in one company. And I've initiated every one of those startups. So it's we didn't used to make battery packs, so stationary battery packs, but now we do. We make them for the home, make them for utility scale with Powerwall Megapack. We created the supercharger network globally. No one else has created a global supercharger network. In fact, that North American supercharger network is so good at that basically every other manufacturer in North America has converted to our standard. And uses the Tesla supercharger network. But if it was so easy, why don't they just do it? And the chip design team started that from scratch. The Tesla AI software team was started from scratch. I literally just say, hey, we're going to start this thing. I post it on Twitter, now X, and then join us if you'd like to build it. In fact, Ashok was, I believe, the first person I interviewed for the Tesla Autopilot team, which we now call the Tesla AI software team, because it is the AI software team. So it's core competencies created while you wait. Optimus at scale is the infinite money glitch. It's like it's difficult to express the magnitude of, like, if you've got something if Optimus, I think, could probably achieve 5x the productivity of a person per year because it can operate 24/7. It doesn't even need to charge. It can operate it tethered, so it's plugged in the whole time. That's why I call it like a future of sustainable abundance, where working will be optional. There's a limit to how much AI can do in terms of enhancing the productivity of humans, but there is not really a limit to AI that is embodied. That's why I call it the infinite money glitch.
I mean, one thing which I'll further add is, I mean, people forget, like, our first iteration of autopilot was 10 years back. So, Elon had started this way back in the
Yeah.
day.
We've got the tweets to prove it.
Exactly. And then even on the Optimus side, right, as much as people think, okay, this is a new thing, I still remember, was it 4+ years back, we were in a finance meeting with Elon, and Elon said, hey, our car is a robot on wheels. And that's where we started developing. In fact, most of the engineering team, which is working on Optimus, has come from the vehicle side. And that's why, when we talk about manufacturing prowess, we have the wherewithal because the same engineers who worked back in the day on drive units are working on actuators now. So that's where we can do, if there is any company which can do it at scale, that is going to be us.
But we also have actually added a lot of new engineers as well to the team. So there's actually a lot of the credit for the Optimus engineering is actually also new engineers, many of them that are just out of college, actually.
Yeah.
So the Optimus engineering team is a very talented engineering team. I'd say like, wow, actually. So, the Optimus reviews at this point are there's the engineering review, and then there's the manufacturing review being done simultaneously with an iterative loop between engineering design and manufacturing. Because then we see we design something and we say like, oh man, that's really difficult to make. We need to change that design to make it easier to manufacture. So we've made radical improvements to the design of Optimus while increasing the functionality, but making it actually possible to manufacture. Like I'd say Optimus 2 is almost impossible to manufacture, frankly. But to Bob's point, we've gone from a person in a robot outfit to what people have seen with Optimus 2.5, where it's doing kung fu. It was like Optimus was at the Tron premiere doing kung fu, just out in the open, like with Jared Leto. Like there wasn't nobody was controlling it. It was just doing kung fu with Jared Leto, at the Tron premiere. You can see the videos online. Actually, the funny thing is, like, a lot of people walked past it thinking it was just a person, even though with Optimus 2.5, you can see that it has a waist that's 3 inches wide, which is obviously not a human. But the movements were so human-like that a lot of people didn't realize they were looking at a robot. So, and what I'm saying is, like, Optimus 3 will be a giant improvement on that, and made it scale. But like I said, a very difficult thing. The Optimus sort of engineering and manufacturing reviews, and there's the Friday night meeting with Optimus, which sometimes goes till midnight, and then my Saturday meeting is the Saturday afternoons with the AI 5 chip design team. So those two things are crucial to the future of the company.
Great. And Dan, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I mean, just as a related, maybe you could just talk about to what extent are the AI efforts at Tesla and xAI complementary, or are they just different forms of AI? Maybe you could just help distinguish for the audience. Thank you.
Yeah, there are different forms of AI. So the XAI, so Grok is like a giant model that you could not possibly squeeze Grok onto a car. That's for sure. It is a giant beast of a model. It's with Grok, it's trying to solve for artificial general intelligence with a massive amount of AI training compute and inference compute. So, for example, for Grok 5 will actually only run effectively on a GB300. That's how much of a beast that Grok 5 is. So, whereas Tesla's, models are, I don't know, maybe about less than 10% the size, maybe closer to 5% the size of Grok. So, yeah, they're really coming at the problem from very different angles. XAI and Grok are they're competing with Google Gemini and OpenAI ChatGPT and that kind of thing. So and some of it's complementary. I mean, for example, for Grok Voice, being able to interact with Grok in the car is cool. Grok for Optimus voice recognition and voice generation is Grok, so that's helpful there. But they are coming at it from kind of opposite ends of the spectrum.
Alrighty. Adam, let's give it another try. When you're ready, please unmute yourself for the next question. Alrighty, unfortunately, still having audio issues. So we're going to move on to Walt from Lightshed. Walt, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Just getting back to Austin, if you can remove the safety driver at year end, is the limitation in the Bay Area just regulatory, or is it kind of the market by market learning process? And I guess similarly in the 8 to 10 markets that you mentioned to get added, is the decision there to put a safety attendant in the passenger seat or the safety driver in? Is that like your step-by-step process to opening up a market, or is it really just the regulation in the individual market?
Well, I think even if the regulators weren't making us do it, we'd still do that as the sort of right sort of cautious approach to a new market. So just to make sure that we're being paranoid about safety, I think it makes sense to have a sort of either safety driver or safety occupant in the car when we first go to new markets to confirm that there's not something we're missing. Because all it takes is like 1 in 10,000 trips to go wrong, and you've got an issue. So it's just to make sure, like, is there some peculiarity about a city, like a very difficult intersection, or I don't know, something that's an unexpected challenge in a city for that 1 in 10,000 situation. So I think we probably could just let it loose in these cities, but we don't want to take a chance. And like what we're talking about here is maybe 3 months of safety driver in a new metro to confirm that it's good, and then we take the safety driver out, that kind of thing.
Okay, and then on FSD 14, it has a different feel than 13, and it's also, I think, a little different than what it feels like in Austin. Is it basically different development path that you're doing in terms of the robotaxi stuff versus what you're dropping to the early adopters? And when you push these new builds, is it that you're looking for notable improvements in intervention rates, or is that largely solved and it's more about adding the functionality like the parking, the drive modes, or just the overall comfort?
No, the first priority when we release a major new software architecture for Autopilot is safety. So it starts off with safety, obviously safety prioritized, and then we solve comfort thereafter, which is why I don't recommend people take the initial version. Like that's why I say most people should wait until 14.2 before they actually download version 14. because by 14.2 we'll have addressed many of the comfort issues. The priority is very much safety first, and then thereafter the comfort issues. That's why most people, I'm like, it'll be a little it'll be safe but jerky. We just need time to kind of smooth the rough edges and solve for comfort in addition to safety with a major news autopilot architecture change. But it really is. I mean, I know what the roadmap is for the Tesla real world AI and at a very granular detail. Obviously, Ashok is leading that. I mean, I spent a lot of time with the team going, in like excruciating detail here on what we're doing to improve the real world AI. Like I said, this car is going to feel like it is a living creature, and that's with AI 4 before even AI 5.
Yeah, the roadmap is super exhilarating. Like it's like so like waiting so much, like release all the stuff we are working on in terms of like what we ship to customers versus robotaxi. It's mostly the same. Obviously, customers have some more features like they can choose the car wants to park in a spot or driveway or something like that, which is not super relevant for robotaxi. But there's only like a few minor changes like those ones. But the majority of the algorithms and architecture, everything is the same between those two platforms.
Yeah, but and as I mentioned earlier, like we'll be adding reasoning to I don't know, Ashok, is that like reasoning in like 14.3, maybe 14.4, something like that?
Yeah, 3 or 4 by end of this year for sure.
Yeah. So with reasoning, it's literally going to think about which parking spot to pick at the. So it's going to say this is the entrance, but actually probably there's not a parking spot right at the entrance. If it's a full, if the parking lot is fairly full, the probability of an open parking spot right at the entrance is very low. But actually, what it'll simply do is drop you off at the entrance of the store and then go find a parking spot. But it's going to get very smart about figuring out a parking spot. It's going to it's going to spot empty spots much better than a human. It's got 360-degree vision, and it's going to, like I said, just it's going to use reasoning to solve things.
And fitting that all inside the computer that has AI4 is the actual challenge. That's what the team is working on. Because obviously you can do reasoning on the server that takes forever, but then in car you need to make real-time decisions. So fitting all that into the computer that's in the car, that's the challenge.
Yeah, that's why I say I have a pretty good understanding of like AI, the sort of the giant model level with Grok and with Tesla, and like I'm confident in saying that Tesla has the Tesla AI has the highest intelligence density. When you look at the intelligence per gigabyte, I think like Tesla AI is probably an order of magnitude better than anyone else. And it doesn't have any choice because that AI has got to fit in the AI4 computer. But the discipline of having that level of AI intelligence density will pay great dividends when you go to something that has an order of magnitude more capability like AI5. Now you have that same intelligence density, but you've got 10 times more capability in the computer.
Great. The next question will come from Colin at Oppenheimer. Colin, please unmute yourself when you're ready. Colin, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you bringing up the challenges of hand dexterity in humanoids, along with the complexity of the supply chain and the vertical integration you guys are pursuing. I'm just trying to harmonize the timeline for the start of production, next year with the current state of the supply chain. And what sounds like a fair amount of work remaining on the dexterity before you can really freeze the hardware design and start to scale up production.
Well, the hardware design will not actually be frozen even through startup production. There'll be continued iteration because a bunch of the things that you discover are very difficult to make. You only find that pretty late in the game. So we'll be doing rolling changes for the Optimus design even after startup production. But I do think that the new hand is an incredible piece of engineering. And that's, well, like I said, we'll have a production intent prototype ready to show off in Q1, probably February or March. And then we're going to be building a 1 million unit Optimus production line. Hopefully with a production start towards the end of next year. But that production ramp will take a while to get to annualized rate of 1 million, because it's going to move as fast as the slowest, dumbest, least lucky thing out of 10,000 unique items. But it will get to 1 million units, and then ultimately, we'll do Optimus 4. That'll be 10 million units. Optimus 5, maybe 50 to 100 million units. I mean, it's really pretty nutty.
Alrighty. That is unfortunately all the time we have for Q&A today. Before we conclude, though, Vaibhav has some closing remarks.
Thanks, Travis. I want to take the time to talk about an extremely important vote, which is being held on November 6th. The meeting will shape the future of Tesla, and we are asking you, as our shareholders, to support Elon's leadership through the 2 compensation proposals and the re-election of Ira, Kathleen, and Joe to the board. Note that it is a team sport, and here at Tesla, the board is an integral part of the winning team. Shareholders are at the center of everything we do at Tesla, and a special committee has laid out a compensation package. Like Elon said, we don't even want to call it a compensation package.
Yeah, it's not. The point is, I just like there needs to be enough voting control to give a strong influence, but not so much that I can't be fired if I go insane. But and I think that sort of number is in the mid-20s approximately. As a company that has already gone public, we've investigated every possible way to how do you achieve increased voting control without is there some way to have like a super voting stock? But there really isn't. There is no way to have a super voting stock after you've gone public. But for example, Google, Meta, many other companies have this, but they had it before they went public, and so it sort of gets, I guess, grandfathered in. Tesla does not have that, so it's just like I said, I just don't feel comfortable building a robot army here and then being ousted because of some asinine recommendations from ISS and Glass Lewis, who have no friggin' clue. I mean, those guys are corporate terrorists. And the problem, so let me explain the core problem here is that so many of the index funds, the passive funds, vote along the lines of whatever Glass Lewis and ISS recommend. Now, they've made many terrible recommendations in the past that, if those recommendations had been followed, would have been extremely destructive to the future of the company. But if you've got passive funds that essentially defer responsibility for the vote to Glass Lewis and ISS, then you can have extremely disastrous consequences for a publicly traded company if too much of the publicly traded company is controlled by index funds. It's de facto controlled by Glass Lewis and ISS. This is a fundamental problem for corporate governance because they're not voting along the lines that are actually good for shareholders. That's the big issue. I mean, that's what it comes down to. ISS, Glass Lewis, corporate terrorism.
Yeah, and I would say, the special committee did an amazing job in constructing this plan for the benefit of the shareholders. There's nothing which gets passed on till the time shareholders make substantial returns. So that's why, in the end, I would say, I would urge you to not only vote on the plan, but also vote on all the 3 directors because of their exceptional knowledge and experience. And literally, we at Tesla work with these directors day in, day out. I mean, there is not even a single day that one of the directors I haven't spoken to or one of my colleague hasn't spoken to. And even the directors out here are not just reading out of PowerPoint presentations. They're actually working with us day in, day out. So again, I just urge you guys as shareholders to vote along the board's recommendation. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you, Vaibhav. We appreciate everyone's questions today. We look forward to talking to you next quarter. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Okay. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Very mixed reactions. Very, very mixed, going off on these incredible tangents and saying that, your chips are going to be 10x more powerful than the next best chip. I call such a large bluff on that. Where does Samsung have any business in being remotely in that league to compete against NVIDIA with TSM? Anyway, good luck. So I wanted to talk quickly about that last ending point. If I'm not mistaken, Shopify created their founder shares for Toby long after they were a public company. So I have a feeling as the days go on that there is going to be a lot of videos or comments calling his bluff on that. Because if I'm not mistaken, there has been shareholder updates for founder shares, which increases the voting power, but doesn't necessarily just comp someone $1 trillion. So that would be interesting, because I understand the need for voter shares in your own business. He's a quasi founder of Tesla. He deserves every part of their success and the future statements of where the company is going to go. He took us there in the first place. So I agree with him there. But if you don't care about the money, I don't think you need to get the money. So I just don't want it to be steered that way of, anyway. As for the company, I think that anyone can make egregious claims. I think everyone is like, hey, you know what? We believe Elon, but also we're not just going to keep bidding up this name just because he says so. Let's actually see some proof. We're willing to wait. I don't think the market's ready to push it into 300, 400, 500 or 500x PEs for this size of the business. I think ChatGPT and all of these companies have proven that there cannot be one large winner in a total addressable market as large as something like humanoid robotics. There's definitely going to be multiple winners. Every single large tech company is going to try to go after it. And I think Tesla will be one of the largest winners. But I think people think that these claims of orders of magnitude larger than their competitors and all of these things, I mean, these claims were made about EVs and everything. It's just, it hasn't been the truth. So we'll see. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for now. I have to get ready for my next live stream, which I think I might have to push off till 8 o'clock now, because I just have zero time between this one to even set up the next. But thank you guys so much for sticking with me on this Tesla live stream, for checking out my other Chime video that was released today, and for all the support that, just being here as a community. It's been awesome. Bye for now.